Diplomat's Archives, Hidden Stories. This is the 44th story. His name is Ryu Gyeong-jib, also known as Ryu Cho-si, whom we introduced in our previous episode. He is a doctor of traditional Korean medicine and a dedicated supporter of the Korean independence movement. And he is also the very first Korean to cross into what is now Poland and build a life there.
After a short wait, the host appears at the door. Dr. Ryu Cho-si is a polite, solemn, elderly gentleman, and he is clearly taken aback by my visit. It seems we will not be able to communicate at all. Dr. Ryu Cho-si's Polish is very poor. Fortunately, a savior appears. It is Dong-ju Ryu, Dr. Ryu Cho-si's son, a student at the University of Warsaw.
That's right. Back in 1935, Ryu Gyeong-jib was not the only Korean living in Poland. His third son, Ryu Dong-ju, who went by Tadeusz Dong-ju, was also living in Poland alongside his father. Korea and Poland and the hidden story surrounding Ryu Dong-ju begins now. Ryu Dong-ju. He was born in 1907 in Pograniczny, a small town located on the border between China and Russia. In 1909, his eldest brother Ryu Dong-ha took part in An Jung-gin's heroic deed and was imprisoned. After that, the family came under strict surveillance by the Japanese authorities, and following his release, they were forced to scatter and live apart. In our previous episode, we shared the story of Ryu Gyeong-jib, Ryu Dong-ju's father, who moved from place to place before establishing a life in Warsaw. Ryu Dong-ju, who was separated from his father and followed his mother, lived a life constantly on the move, traversing Harbin, Irkutsk, Vladivostok, Wonsan, and Manchuria. Living a life of constant hardship, Ryu Dong-ju eventually made a life-changing decision in 1931 to leave for Poland, where his father lived. At Harbin station, just before boarding the Trans-Siberian Railway, he bid farewell to his mother and made a solemn vow.
I'm going to Europe to gain knowledge and skills I need so I can come back, run my own business, and give you a better life, Mother.
And so, in May 1931, Ryu Dong-ju finally set foot in Warsaw.
가서 봤더니 정말 폴란드란 나라는 본인이 생각할 때 대단히 선진적이고 개발이 되고 있고 어떤 문화 강국이었어요. 그래서 그런 새로운 곳에서 자신의 꿈을 새롭게 펼치고 싶은데
Arriving in Poland in 1931, Ryu Dong-ju spent a year studying Polish. The following year, he entered the Medical University of Warsaw to study dentistry. According to Professor Lee Min-hee, who published the first academic paper on Ryu Gyeong-jib and Ryu Dong-ju, the father's influence played a role in the son's decision to major in dentistry.
유동주 선생님은 아버지인 유경집 선생을 너무너무나도 좋아하고 존경을 했습니다. 그리고 본인도 닮고 싶다. 그래서 본인도 의사가 되고 싶다라는 생각을 했습니다. 그런데 한의사는 아니다. 왜냐하면은 폴란드에서 살아남기 위해서는 새로운 서양 의학을 본인이 공부해서 그걸 가지고서 거기에 뿌리를 내려야 된다. 이런 생각이 컸던 것이죠. 그래서 바르샤바대 의대에 이제 막 그 구강학, 치의학이 도입된 시기여서 그러면은 새로운 의학 분야에 도전을 하면 좋겠다. 이런 생각을 하게 됐고요.
To learn more about Ryu Dong-ju's life in Poland, our team held a video call with an expert in Poland.
He lived in Nowy Świat Street in Warsaw, in the center of Warsaw, in a beautiful apartment.
Dr. Joanna Statsiewicz-Pudlipska first learned of Ryu Dong-ju while researching Polish art history at the Institute of Art of the Polish Academy of Sciences.
He was once visited by the reporter of Polish Capital's Press, who was responsible for the series called Exotic Warsaw. In fact, he wanted to talk to Juchosi, but he was, I guess, unable to communicate in Polish. And then at that moment enters young Tadeusz Tonczuru. The journalist stated that he's nimble, lively, constantly smiling, and very helpful, and fluent in Polish already.
In 1935, Korea was under Japanese rule. For this reason, we must keep in mind that the article refers to Korea as Japan. Upon graduation, he began practicing dentistry in Poland, leading a relatively comfortable life.
요거는 이제 유동주 선생이 1930년대에 사용했던 명함. 치과 의사 명함으로서 그게 이제 주소까지 나와 있고요. 전화번호도 적혀 있고, 이거 역시 김판 선생님으로부터 받았는데, 김판 선생님은 유동주 선생님으로부터 직접 받았다. 1988년도에.
He was considered one of the best dentists here in Warsaw. Quite recently, I met another person who still remembers him, although she was treated by him in 60s or 70s, just as a child, as a little girl, and she remembers him really well. She said that that he had that magic touch, that it was there was an experience that led to no pain. I mean, removing teeth, for example.
Despite his career as a dentist, his academic passion remained undiminished.
1951년 박사학위까지 받게끔 됐습니다. 그게 폴란드 최초의 국왕학 박사 학위였고요. 그래서 유동주 선생이 제1호 폴란드에서 국왕학 박사 학위를 받은 사람이 되었습니다.
It is a truly remarkable record. The very first person to earn a doctorate in stomatology in Poland was a Korean, Ryu Dong-ju. With this advanced degree, he moved beyond basic dentistry to treat a wide range of oral diseases, performing highly specialized medical procedures.
In early 50s, he worked at the Department of Sinology at the Warsaw University's Institute of Oriental Studies, and he taught Korean there, of course.
In fact, this was the very first Korean language course ever held in Poland. And it was Ryu Dong-ju who led these lectures. But it makes one wonder, was there a demand for Korean language classes in Poland back then?
유동주 선생이 그 바르샤바대에서 한국어 강의를 할 수 있게끔 된 것은 그거는 1948년도의 일인데요. 이때는 북한과 폴란드가 수교를 하게 되었기 때문에 한국어 강의에 대한 수요가 생겨나게끔 된 것이었죠.
In 1948, Poland established diplomatic relations with North Korea. But why North Korea and not the South? To understand this, we need to look at the historical context. In 1939, World War II began with the Nazi Germany's invasion of Poland. Soon after, the country was divided and occupied by both Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union. As the war drew to a close, Soviet forces, having pushed out Nazi Germany, marched into Poland. With the Soviet Union expanding its influence across the Eastern Bloc, Poland also became a socialist state under the Soviet sphere of influence. Meanwhile, Korea, which had been under Japanese rule since 1910, finally gained independence following Japan's defeat in 1945. However, the Korean peninsula was soon divided along the 38th parallel. In 1948, two separate governments were established, one in the south backed by the United States, and one in the north backed by the Soviet Union. As the Cold War intensified, efforts to establish a unified government ultimately failed. Under these circumstances, Poland and North Korea, then part of the same political camp, formally established ties.
폴란드에서 오랫동안 거주하면서 폴란드어를 그렇게 잘하고 또 한국인인 유동주 선생이 가장 적임자라고 생각해서 1948년에 바르샤바대에서 한국어 강의를 최초로 개설을 하면서 강사로 유동주 선생을 초빙을 하게 된 것이었죠.
And among his students was Halina Ogarek-Choi, who we name a mother of Polish-Korean studies.
Halina Ogarek-Choi, who studied Korean under Ryu Dong-ju, went to North Korea to study abroad in 1956. After majoring in modern North Korean literature at Kim Il-sung University, she returned to Poland and served as the head of the Korean Studies Department at the University of Warsaw's Institute of Oriental Studies. There, she laid the foundation for Korean studies in Poland and established the Department of Korean Studies at the University of Warsaw as it exists today.
So if she is the mother of Polish-Korean studies, then Dr. Dong-ju would be a grandfather, right, for Polish-Korean studies.
In 1953, 22 years after his arrival in Poland, Ryu Dong-ju became involved in an intriguing new project. It was an initiative to stage a puppet play piece titled Arirang, inspired by traditional Korean folk tales. But what was the story behind this production, Arirang? We posed this question to Dr. Joanna Stachewicz-Pudlipska. She recently published a study tracing the production and premiere of the puppet play Arirang, examining stage design as a field within art history. The study also offers an engaging look into the life of Ryu Dong-ju.
Well, in the beginnings, short beginnings of the work on Arirang were described by Natalia Bojarska, author of the adaptation. She described it in introduction to the performance program. Actually, I have that fragment here. I quote, "For many years, there has lived in Warsaw a guest from afar, Dr. Dong-ju from Korea. It so happened that his countryman and colleague, Hung So-hang, came to visit the doctor. While reminiscing about their homeland, the friends came up with the idea of jotting down tales and folk stories they remembered from their childhood. It then happened that I met Dr. Dong-ju, and this is how the friends' notes came into my hands."
Driven by a deep longing for their homeland, Ryu Dong-ju and his friend Han Hung-soo began documenting Korean folktales and legends. Eventually, they compiled 14 stories, which found their way into the hands of novelist and playwright Natalia Bojarska. Moved by these tales, she decided to turn one of them into a stage production. And with the Gdańsk Puppet Theater joining the project, the story was finally brought to life as a puppet production.
이 공연이 그러니까 그단스크, 바르샤바도 아니고 그단스크라고 하는 곳에서 이루어졌다는 것이 저는 놀라운 일이라고 생각을 하거든요. 근데 그 그단스크가 관심을 갖게 된 것은 몇 가지 이유가 있는데, 하나는 그 북한의 전쟁 고아들이 1953년에 그단스크로 많이 오게끔 됩니다. 그단스크 사람들로서는 그 북한 아이들에 대한 관심을 좀 갖게끔 됐죠.
In 1950, the Korean War broke out. Amidst the devastation of the conflict, countless children were left orphaned. Socialist nations in Europe, which maintained close ties with North Korea at the time, stepped forward to take in and support these war orphans. And Poland was one of those nations.
Although it was a very noble gesture, it wasn't a Polish decision per se. We were part of the Soviet bloc, and this was expected by Moscow as a sign of quote-unquote communist solidarity with North Korea. So first in 1951 and then in 1953, North Korean orphans have arrived in Poland, and they were settled in a couple of locations across Poland, some of them in the south, some of them in the central Poland, some of them in the north on the coast. And of course, the principal reason was the war trauma from which these children were suffering. The Polish authorities went to great lengths, and they have put a very huge effort to create conditions in which these children could recover from the atrocities of war.
Professor Choi Sung-eun, an expert on Poland, offers the following perspective on why Poland took in North Korean orphans at that time.
폴란드는 1951년부터 1959년까지 8년에 걸쳐서 공식적인 기록으로 확인된 인원만 1,500명 정도의 이제 규모의 북한 전쟁 고아들을 수용을 했는데요. 이게 사실 기록되지 않은 인원까지 합하면 2,000명이 넘는 것으로 추정을 하고 있고요. 동유럽에서 가장 많은 북한 전쟁 고아를 받아들인 나라가 폴란드입니다. 사회주의 형제 국가를 돕는다는 명분도 챙기고, 그리고 체제 홍보에도 적극적으로 활용을 하기 위해서 폴란드가 이 아이들을 받아들입니다. 그런데 그 이면에는 인도주의적인 동기에서 비롯된 어떤 동병상련의 아픔도 있었습니다. 왜냐하면 폴란드는 세계 제2차 대전 때 나치 독일과 소비에트로부터 분할 점령을 또 당하게 되면서 600만 명이 넘는 인명피해를 기록하거든요. 그러면서 또 많은 전쟁 고아가 양산이 되었고요. 그래서 전쟁의 참혹함에 대해서 누구보다 잘 알고 있었던 나라가 폴란드였습니다.
As North Korean orphans arrived in Gdańsk, the city likely developed an interest in them and their homeland. In a sense, this growing curiosity paved the way for the puppet play project at the Gdańsk Puppet Theater. However, the production team of Arirang had to overcome numerous challenges before the play could take the stage. One of the primary difficulties they faced was their limited understanding of Korean culture. In this situation, Ryu Dong-ju provided extensive cultural consultations to the production team, offering invaluable assistance in bringing an authentic Korean story to life.
The art director Ali Bongsh, the director Natalia Goemska, and the author of adaptation Arirang made great efforts to faithfully incorporate Korean elements into the production. This was by no means an easy task. However, the author and the artistic team of Gdańsk Puppet Theater employed every possible means to gain a deeper understanding of Korean folk culture. In this process, Dr. Ton-chu Ryu played an indispensable role as a dedicated source of information and advisor.
Was it in recognition of Ryu Dong-ju's help and support? The production team also paid a small tribute to him in the work.
There was this lovely tribute paid to Dr. Ton-chu Ryu, because the main character in the fairy tale has a son named Pak. And somewhere towards the end of the production, the change occurred, and Pak was renamed Ton-chu Ryu. So this little hero of the story is in fact Ton-chu Ryu. I don't know whether to his knowledge or consent or not, but it is definitely how they established it, and it functioned later on.
Some materials of the puppet play Arirang still remain today. Through these, we can see how the production team strove to capture Korean culture and sentiments as authentically as possible. And on October 31st, 1953, the puppet play Arirang finally took to the stage at the Gdańsk Puppet Theater. What kind of performance was it? Our team has adapted the Arirang into a puppet animation based on fragments of the original performance.
In a land far, far away, there lay a country called Chosun. In a small, humble fishing village of this land lived two neighbors. One was Bokdong, a man of diligence and kindness with a gentle heart. The other was Ryu Sanok, a man of sloth and laziness, consumed by anger and envy.
What a world we live in. It's getting harder and harder to survive. I heard Unyu fell into debt to the landlord and couldn't pay it back. They say his land and even his house were taken away.
So, what happened to him?
He packed up his things and fled the village. Word has it he's left the country altogether.
아리랑 아리랑 아라리요 아리랑 고개를 넘어간다.
Ma'am, please let me help you with that.
We don't have time for this. We have to get going now. If you're going to waste time like this, I'm leaving without you.
Take this. It's my gift to you. Set sail with it into the sea, and there speak the sacred words. Say to it, spin, O millstone, and scatter the white salt.
Spin, O millstone, and scatter the white salt. Now, no one will ever run out of salt again. I will keep bringing it to you all, day after day.
Spin, O millstone, and scatter the white salt. Oh no! How do I stop this thing?
The production of Arirang was a massive success. Building on this triumph, performances were held the following year in the nearby city of Bydgoszcz. Yet one curiosity remains. Why was the puppet play named after Arirang, Korea's most iconic folk song?
보야롭스카 씨는 유동주 선생을 자주 만나서 그로부터 한국에 대한 이야기를 많이 듣게끔 됐어요. 그래서 아리랑 고개를 넘어간다라고 노래하는 순간 그 노래를 부르는 주체인 한국인들은 이제 더 이상은 되돌아가기 어렵다라고 하는 절망, 그리고 어떻게 살아가야 될 것인가 하는 자기 고민과 그리고 의지, 이거를 담아낸 것이다. 이렇게 이해를 한 거예요. 그래서 이 아리랑이라고 하는 작품은 폴란드인들에게 폴란드가 한국하고 역사적 경험이 너무나 비슷했다라고 하는 것을 뼈저리게 느끼고, 폴란드인이 가지고 있는 전쟁으로 인한 상처 또는 나라를 빼앗겨가지고 123년 동안 나라 잃은 서름을 안고 살았던 민족이거든요. 그네들이 동양에 또 나라를 빼앗기고 또 한국전쟁 같은 전쟁으로 인해서 상처를 입은 그러한 한국인들이 있다라고 하는 것을 이 인형극을 통해서 보여줌으로써 서로 동병상련의 감정도 느끼고, 우리는 전혀 별개의 민족이 아니라 하나 될 수 있는, 그리고 보듬어야 되는 그러한 나라다, 백성들이다 라고 하는 것을 보여줬다라고 할 수가 있을 것 같아요.
For Ryu Dong-ju and his family, life was a series of displacements. A diaspora far from home. In this sense, the puppet play Arirang is also the story of Ryu Dong-ju and his own family. Perhaps the production of Arirang was the very first instance of cultural exchange between Korea and Poland. Through Ryu Dong-ju's deep involvement, these two nations, sharing such similar histories, were able to find a profound connection with one another. In one sense, Ryu Dong-ju was a Korean who never once forgot his homeland. In another, he was a naturalized Pole who shared a deep, soulful connection with Poland. Through the traces he left behind, we can glimpse the deep affection he held for Poland. During his time there, Poland was swept into the devastation of World War II, facing invasions from both Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union. The nation was split into occupation zones, and its cities were reduced to rubble.
His name appears again in Polish press in April 1939, where he's listed among donors who give money to strengthen Polish defense. He pledges 200 Polish zloty for Air Force loan. It's a quite touching document of his stay here in Warsaw in these terrible times.
In 1938, the average monthly wage for a Polish worker was approximately 100 zloty. Ryu Dong-ju donated twice that amount, a significant sum at the time. And during the Warsaw Uprising, a civil resistance against Nazi occupation, he served as a physician, treating and rescuing Polish citizens. But that's not all. While tracing Ryu Dong-ju's life during World War II, Professor Lee Min-hee uncovered another fascinating discovery.
이 책은 막달레나 그로스라고 하는 폴란드 여류 조각가에 관해서 쓴 학술서라고 볼 수가 있습니다. 막달레나 그로스에 대해서 쓴 책인데요. 흥미로운 것이 바로 유동주 선생의 두 상이 사진으로 실려 있다라고 하는 것이고요. 특별히 생명의 은인이었다고 할 수가 있어서 보은의 의미로, 감사의 의미로 이렇게 작품으로 제작을 했어요. 그녀가 유태인이었기 때문에 1939년에 2차 세계대전이 일어나고 그리고서 얼마 안 있어가지고 게토, 독일군에 의해서 게토 지역이 형성이 되게끔 됐는데 이때 이 그로스 씨는 자기는 게토 지역에 들어갔다가는 독일군에 의해서 어떻게 될지 모르겠다. 위험을 느껴가지고서는 이름을 바꿔가면서 그냥 게토 지역 바깥에 바르샤바에 지냈어요.
Upon learning that Magdalena Gross was in danger, Ryu Dong-ju, together with other acquaintances, helped her find a safe place to hide.
그로스가 구사의 역시 위기에서 벗어났기 때문에 나중에 전쟁이 끝난 후에 자신을 도와줬던 사람들을 감사하다 하는 의미로 몇몇 사람들의 얼굴을 조각을 했다라는 거죠. 이 작품이 실제로 어디 있을까 궁금해가지고 정말 수소문을 했어요. 최근까지도 바르샤바 국립박물관서부터 해가지고 시리 미술관 관련된 데 그리고 경매하는 회사 혹시 아느냐. 그리고 막달레나 그로스는 이제 유명한 사람이기 때문에 그 사람이 작품 혹시 없냐, 그 목록이라도 혹시 보여줄 수 있냐 해가지고 다 뿌렸어요. 근데 그 중에서 3군데에서 답장이 왔는데 없다. 제 생각에는 개인 소장으로 가지고 있지 않을까 싶은 생각이 들어요. 근데 만약에 이런 것이 있다라고 하면은 역시 대단히 한국과 폴란드의 관계를 이야기할 때 중요한 뭐랄까 매개구리가 되지 않을까. 그렇잖아요. 그 2차 세계대전 당시에 한국인과 폴란드인이 하나가 됐었다. 서로 도와주는 사이였다. 이런 걸 알 수 있는 그런 증거가 되기 때문에 그래서 요거는 계속 한번 찾아볼 생각인데요. 예.
After enduring the long years of partitions and foreign occupation, Poland had finally gained its independence, only to be invaded once again during World War II. Witnessing this, Ryu Dong-ju might have been reminded of the sorrow of his own homeland. In August 1988, as Seoul was buzzing with excitement just weeks before the Summer Games, Ryu Dong-ju, at the age of 81, returned to his homeland for the first time in 57 years.
얼마나 고국이 그리웠고 가족이 보고 싶었겠습니까?
그 생각만 하고 한숨이나 쉬죠. 언제 그런 행운이 나가긴 또 오겠는지. 오늘 왔어요.
예, 그동안은 또 폴란드와 우리가 국교가 없으니까 쭉 못
없었죠.
오시잖아요.
그러니까 더 곤란하죠. 근데 지금은 그 시작이 되는 모입니다. 예, 그러니까 우리한테도 그렇고요.
네.
또 파란 짝으로도 그렇고요.
네.
그래서 봄바람이 부는다.
아하.
Two months after visiting Korea and returning to Poland, Ryu Dong-ju passed away. And the following year, South Korea and Poland established diplomatic relations. Ryu Gyeong-jib, who arrived in Warsaw in 1917, and Ryu Dong-ju in 1931. Through the lives of this father and son, we have been able to encounter the histories of Korea and Poland, as well as the lives of individuals carried along by the great currents of history.
유동주 선생이 1931년에 바르샤바를 가거든요. 이때 아버지와 유동주 선생이 신부님과 더불어서 바르샤바 중심 거리를 걷고 있는 모습인데요. 이때 이 바르샤바에서 살았던 이 두 부자는 어떠한 마음가짐을 가지고 폴란드에서 지냈을까 했을 때 이 걷는 모습을 봤을 때는 당당하려고 했고 한국인이라고 하는 것을 나타내려고 하는 그러한 자부심이 있지 않았나.
And that is not all. Their lives show that Korea and Poland have been connected for a very long time, and that through them, a deep bond has been formed between the two nations.
I'm sure that knowing more about the past and how deep it reaches is absolutely vital, not just for the present, but also for the future. I had a lot of respect reading about the first encounters between Poles and Koreans. It is a great source of inspiration for our work. I was, of course, aware of the cultural affinity between Poland and Korea, and the longer I'm here, the more convinced I am that these similarities are quite durable. And this is what brings our nations together, not just today, but also in the years ahead.
From the story of Wacław Sieroszewski and Ryu Gyeong-jib, introduced in the previous episodes, to that of Ryu Dong-ju we met today, their stories, seen from today's perspective, are not merely those of individuals. They connect Korea and Poland, invite us to see the relationship between the two countries in a new light, and point toward a shared future yet to unfold. A new chapter of history.